Forget perfection, forget the shoulds. What if freedom isn't about getting it all right, but about refusing to let the wrong things stick? In this episode, we explore how self-awareness and radical acceptance unlock a deeper kind of liberation, one that gives you your energy back, your ease, and your life. This conversation might just change the way you show up for yourself. Hi there. Welcome to the Empowered and Embodied Show. I'm Kim Romaine.
And I'm Louise Neal. We're two transformational coaches who are also fellow travelers on the path of growth and self-discovery. And we're inviting you along for the ride.
That's right. We're right here in the trenches with you, navigating the ups and downs of life. And each week we'll be sharing our own experiences, bringing you conversations with amazing guests, and exploring insights and strategies that have helped us find more clarity, confidence, and ease in our lives.
And trust us, we do not have it all figured out. We're learning and growing right alongside you.
So if you're ready to rise above the chaos, doubt, and confusion that sometimes life throws our way,
and step into a more empowered and embodied version of yourself,
then you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Empowered and Embodied Show. I am one of your co-hosts, Kim Romaine, joined as always by my lovely and silly co-host.
That's me. I'm Louise. I'm giggling because maybe we need to do some behind the scenes, because how we enter into the show from the green room is often like in mid-sentence, and it's just like, just go. And today it was a little more like, what does that look like? What is go? And it's like, oh yeah, you hit the button and we go into the next room.
We've only done 170 of these. It's, you can't expect me to remember what to do every time. We started our conversation in the green room today talking about like, what are the details? Like how?
Yes.
Right?
We did.
Even when we started.
Yeah. I'm having this battle. Is it a battle? I don't think it's even a battle, because my attention to detail is just it's non-existent. It's not like I'm battling to get it back. It's just left the building completely.
And I responded with, what's a detail? I don't know that I even know what that is anymore.
It is absolutely mind-blowing to me, and how I used to even created a business in the first place, how I used to run like $1 million projects when I can't pay attention to finishing an email or even reading the details of an email. I went to the wrong event this week. Well, it wasn't a wrong event. It was like the details of the date, the time, and the place completely left me. I knew the who, the rest of it was gone. And so
you had the place right.
I had the place right, the date, the time. Like it was interesting, because that's not a place where I come from.
Right.
And so a lot of humor, a lot of laughing, a lot of grace and self-compassion this week for that. And yeah. And not being too worried. I'm sure one day detail will come knocking at my door and I will invite it in to stay.
Well, and is it you never have attention to detail, or is it just generally attention to detail is harder now?
I have told myself that if I pay attention to detail, it will stick in my brain and it will be okay. That's not working for me. So that's a strategy that just doesn't work. Task lists, sticky notes, those kinds of things, clearly not working. When I put the thing wrong in my calendar, I can follow my calendar, but right, there's something there. And so do I have detail for the things that I want to have detail for? Am I gravitated towards a certain area that it feels really juicy? Not necessarily. The things that are going into my brain currently, I think are getting stuck there. It'll come back. I know it'll come back. It's just, I am sure I'm seeing it and I'm putting it in there somewhere. I'm just not retrieving it in a way that I'm used to retrieving it.
So stuck, but not sticky.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was funny when you were like, "What's detail?" And I'm like, "I don't fucking know
I don't
anymore."
know. No clue. So as you're sharing all this, I'm really, really, really curious because it sounds like there is a shift in how you are experiencing yourself.
Yes, I hesitated because it is a shift. It's not that it's amplified or that I'm, more self aware. I believe that it's in how I'm self aware. That makes sense.
I mean, tell me more. Maybe it does make sense. I'm not 100% clear on what on.
So a lot of the personal development work that I've done in my life has come later in my life. And I think that's true for a lot of people, right? When we're young and busy and growing relationships and families and like all of those things, my focus was on other things. So not personal development. What I've noticed with myself as I come into personal development, like 15 years ago, maybe a little longer, but around then, was that this idea of self awareness focused a lot on the chatter that's going on inside. Like it was like internally. Who am I internally? And what is that? Right? We've talked before on this show about my bus and the kids with bologna sandwiches and understanding that. And that's kind of how I've been starting to become more self-aware. Somatically, Kim, you and I have done a lot of work on, right, like what things feel like. To me, that absolutely is self-awareness. What I'm noticing with this, and maybe it's my place I am in my life, there's a word for that I can't think of, or how I'm approaching what's happening to me. It's not so much that it's like, oh, here's a new piece of information. It's more like, here's a new piece of information and I don't know what to do with it. And it just is. And I don't have to know what to do with it. And so that's been a change for me, where before it was like, oh, here's new information. Here's what I can do. Here's how I implement it, integrate it into my life. And now it's like, here's new information. And I just clearly just have information. And I don't know. And I feel like that's okay. I don't have to know how to start to integrate it necessarily into my life in this moment. I don't know how to navigate some of these things, but I'm still aware that some of these things are happening.
So, why is it even important to have the self awareness? Like, where are you going with this whole self awareness journey?
Isn't that the point?
Is it the point?
Isn't it?
Is awareness enough, or is there something else that we're doing and utilizing awareness as a tool on that journey?
Yes.
Yes, both.
I think so. That's really interesting to think about, like as a tool to move you, but towards what? Towards more self awareness?
No, I mean, personally, I think you didn't ask, but I'm going to share.
Please do.
I think it's ultimately for me, it is the journey to self-liberation, which has stops along the way, right? Self-awareness is a tool towards self-liberation. Self-awareness can be a pit stop, like a first stop as well. And then we have a little bit of self-actualization, right? We have these little places along the way where we're moving towards, in my opinion, the ultimate, which is self-liberation, because that to me is the pinnacle purpose of doing this exploration. Because if we're doing this exploration, we're just gathering data and we're never using it for anything other than to just have awareness, have consciousness, which is fine. We can have awareness. I don't think that automatically gives us the ability to have consciousness. I think it's, again, another step.
I got excited there while you were talking because I'm like, what does that even mean when you say like the goal is self-liberation? What is that? What is self-liberation?
What is self-liberation? Okay,
Yeah.
so I have a definition for you. Here we go.
Oh, okay.
All right. So liberation is freedom from social conventions or traditional ideas. This is according to the Oxford Languages Dictionary. When we liberate ourselves, we're being liberated from a place where our liberties are severely restricted. So now that's like an external liberation, right? So our liberties are being restricted. We've seen a lot of that in the world, particularly recently.
No, really?
Yeah. I'm not sure if you're
Somewhere.
aware. Every fucking where, it feels like. And every liberty that we have been experiencing, at least during our lifetimes, seems to be continuing to be restricted, or attempts to restrict are on that externally. Internally, we do this as well. We restrict our own liberties. We restrict our own freedoms internally all the time. I mean, a very basic way of talking about it is when we talk about limiting beliefs. Right? It is our beliefs. It's how we show up in the world. It's what we think. It's how we react. Those are all of the limitations we're placing on ourselves. That's coming internally. Now, it's 100%, not 100%. It's a lot impacted. I didn't mean to say like it's all like all of us is impacted externally, but there is a huge amount of what we experience internally is impacted from the external. But we have the ability to shift the narrative, the direction of our own freedom internally. And so that to me is self-liberation. And that to me is awareness is a stepping stone, is a tool towards getting to that place of self-liberation where we are not only at the whims of that external desire for liberation. It doesn't change that we're being restricted externally. It changes our response and our reaction to that restriction.
Yeah, I love that you brought up limiting beliefs, because it's something that I can grab onto, right? Like these are things that are actually holding me back from being who I want to be, or living the life I want to live, or whatever that is. There's an awareness that comes not with just like, oh, we all have limiting beliefs. It's great. It's really about, this is my limiting belief. And now I get to write a new story. I get to put that limiting belief down, and I get to work on what that is, so that it's no longer holding me back from getting to a place where I want to go. So I love that example, because like we do this in all kinds of ways, in all places in our lives where we're holding ourselves back from getting what we truly like desire.
Yes, and I hear that and I go, yes. And I say yes, and exactly as I did, because that's an aspect. That's one aspect, right? That's the mental component of it. There's that the overabundance of ways that we can shift our mindset, right? Everybody's going to tell you how to shift your mindset right now, right?
Just shift your mindset.
Shifting your mindset doesn't get you self-liberated. Shifting your mindset doesn't get you to that place of freedom, that when it comes down, freedom, peace of mind, right? Those are things I hear over and over again. I just want to feel free. I want to have the freedom to move. I want to have the freedom to, do what I want in the world. I want the freedom to express myself. I want the freedom to live. Freedom is a huge thing. And that's what's being attacked externally. Mm-hmm. But that peace of mind, that ease, that calm, that groundedness, all of that comes from different layers, mindset being one of them, and limiting beliefs being one aspect of mindset.
So tell me more. What are the other aspects? How else do we move towards, right, this idea of self-liberation?
I mean, the simplest way to talk about it from my perspective is a place of wholeness. And so it really is mind, body, soul, strategy. And strategy is kind of that external part. Because there's the mind, there's the internal mind that we were just talking about through, right, mindset and beliefs and all of that. There's our body that has wisdom. That's the somatic stuff we talk, and being embodied. It's in the title of our show, right? There's our soul, which has its own core purpose, its needs, its own direction. And it goes deeper than the mind and the body to that place of soul. And then that strategy where we connect out into the world. And so how do we interconnect all of those aspects of self and those sometimes quite competing aspects of self? Because I can tell you, my internal workings are not all well aligned.
Right.
There are parts of me that want this and parts of me that want that. And it's not always perfect alignment. We are not built that way. Human beings are complex. And the more we acknowledge that complexity, come to accept that in this moment, for this time, this chapter in your journey, details, attention to detail isn't something that's accessible. So how do we accept that aspect of self and still know that part of ourselves is focused on details, right? When you're working with a client, you are pulling out the details.
I am. Yep.
So it's not that that's gone. It's just gone in a certain, or it's not accessible in a certain way. Right. So how do we accept those competing aspects of self to come to a place of wholeness? And that place of wholeness is that place of freedom.
Yeah. This is such a cool conversation because I was just talking to somebody today. I was talking to a client first thing this morning, and our conversations are usually very tactical, right? They're someone who needs that accountability, who wants to use our time to be very kind of strategic and very focused on, am I doing the right things at the right time for the right reasons? And so that's what, and our conversation today was very much focused on this idea of freedom through acceptance, and the amount of joy that I saw in my client today blew me away because they were at a very different state last week. Very different. And so in inquiry, it was like, what's different? Like, what has changed in 7 days to have this like visible, like vibrating, right, change in your life? And it was around acceptance. It was an acceptance of that I am not this type A hard ass personality that just pushes and grinds, and that's the only way that I achieve success. And the conversation was, I am laid back. I am hardworking on the things that matter. And I have time for my family. I have time for myself, and I have time to be whole, because when I'm whole, I get to actually show up in each one of those places, my best version of myself. And it was like awesome to see that shift and to be able to witness it in a way that was like really deep. And I think acceptance, that word acceptance, has a sharp edge for some people.
For sure. It's really, I mean, yeah. So a client I've been working with for years, she's an amazing leader in the design space, UX design space. And there are some aspects of self that are really hard to accept for her to accept. And yet when she sees the totality of self, which we go back to a lot, right? Because we get so laser focused on those aspects we don't want to accept, right? This has to change. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I'm not whatever, right? This is making my life suck. And so therefore everything else that is part of the whole gets diminished. And we played a game of percentages. I'm like, let's just think about this all in percentages. Let's talk about what percentage of your life is actually touching this thing that sucks so much that you don't want to accept. How much of your life is touching that? And how much of your life is touching this other aspect over here? Like, she was pulling out these different aspects of self. And it was almost like creating a map. And what she realized is there was less than 5% that was actually touching that. And it was taking up 80% of her energy. And so again, we played some games of like, okay, well, how do we touch into some of these other aspects that you actually feel are taking up bigger space, but are showing up smaller, right? That's part of that self-liberation. In terms she and I have used of self-actualization, self-directed, like all of these words that come from this place of self. And yet what we have a tendency to do is diminish self, right? Again, because external forces, who we think we should be, what we feel we need to be bringing into the world, how we feel disconnected or disenfranchised or pissed off that the world looks like it does right now. Yes, and it is the yes and, yet like there is no glitter on poop here. The world is fucking hard. It is really hard. And not every aspect of life is hard right now. So where are those places where we can touch in? So, right, we started the conversation again around attention to detail. So if you're focusing on attention to detail is like, that's not there and that's really frustrating for me, then what are the aspects that aren't frustrating for you that also still exist?
Well, absolutely. But also for me, this acceptance piece around attention to detail is right now, like, I'm just not letting it get me frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not. There is not, and I don't want to put my energy, frustration is an energy leak.
Mm-hmm.
When we're frustrated, it means we're doing something when we want to be doing something else. And when we get stuck in this place, right? And it just sucks our energy and our attention. Maybe it's I don't have attention. No, that's not true. I'm just refusing. I'm absolutely refusing for it to get me frustrated. When I drop the ball and don't connect with someone for a week because I forgot to get back to them, I drop the ball like 100%. Like my deepest apologies. And here's the ball. How do we pick up and how do we keep moving? I can't get stuck in it. And if that person doesn't want to keep moving with me, well, it just wasn't meant to be. Because this is who I am in this moment right now. When I went to the event, I don't really know what happened, but
You didn't miss the event. You were a week early.
I was a week early. But when I showed up at the event space, which is a beautiful space, by the way, traffic was horrible. Construction, unbelievable. But I'm like, you know what? Crank some tunes. I was on my way. I get there not exactly on time because not on time because I'm not at my event. But even if it was, I was a little bit tardy because of construction. And I'm like, oh, well, it's just the way it goes. I walk in and see that there's a completely different event in that space and have a beautiful conversation with an entirely different organization that's there. Meet two lovely women, joke about, right, getting information wrong and, right, this stage of life, and had a great moment. Hop back in my vehicle, had to fight rush hour construction traffic again with some great tunes and thinking about how was I going to spend my evening now that it was free. And I just refused to let it suck energy away from me because that's not who I want to be.
Right. And that in that acceptance, you experienced freedom.
Absolutely.
Right?
Freedom from this judgment of who I am in this moment. Right. And I can say that as a younger version of myself, there would have been unkind words said to me by me. There would have been frustration. I would have hung on to that. I would have beat myself up probably for hours, if not hung on to it all night, had a terrible sleep, and woken up and really thought very little of myself as to like who I am and how do I think I can run a business when I can't even fucking put something in my calendar properly.
Be a deep hole.
Right? That is a very deep hole. And I didn't have a hole. I didn't have anything. I had freedom. I had space. I had capacity to do something that evening. But even in the moment, I had freedom to talk to some fantastic folks at this non-event event for a few minutes. I listened to some great tunes.
It was an event. It just wasn't your event.
It was my event. It was not my event. And so it's really about, right? It's this, I guess you're calling it, right, self-liberation in a way that I'm just refusing to let this moment in time bother me. I'm just
So
refusing.
let's go back. Showing freedom from social conventions or traditional ideas.
Yeah. My traditional ideas that I'm not capable of running a business because I can't put something in my calendar,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm free of that judgment. I actually don't carry that judgment anymore. That says nothing about who I am as a coach and as a menopause doula, as a speaker, as a trainer, as a right at building a business, any of those things. Me showing up at the wrong event on the wrong time has nothing to do with anything
Mm-hmm.
other than I got it wrong for a second.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the power of acceptance, which is again a tool, right? There's many tools. We started out talking about self-awareness. So there was some self-awareness in there as well in what I heard in your story. So you were aware of what was happening and what you were experiencing. You also had that used the tool of acceptance, right? To get to a place where it didn't stick. It wasn't sticky and it didn't stick. And that's where we start to experience freedom. That's where we start to experience this aspect of self-liberation.
Mm.
Because we're not allowing those social conventions and traditional ideas that live within us to stick or to be sticky.
Mm-hmm.
Neither. It's not
Mm-hmm.
there. It's just saying, yep, that, in my client's case, yeah, this sucks right now. Yeah. In terms of another client that I talked to earlier this week, a lot of financial issues. It's like, I get it. It sucks. We're not going to take away the suck.
Absolutely.
Right? That's part of the wholeness is we
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
to recognize it sucks. Right? Maybe for you it was embarrassment. Maybe for you it was frustration. Whatever that feeling was when you showed up, right? That's true. That's real. That's like we want to honor that. I felt that. We just don't want it to stick.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And again, it's not pushing it away. It's not putting glitter on it. It's not dressing it up and putting a bow on it. It's saying, yes, and it sucks. And I'm embarrassed. And I'm frustrated. And it's both.
Yeah. Yeah. It just comes to, and I want to say a couple of things about that because for me, it's just a refusal to waste my energy on something that's just not important because I have no control over it. Right? It's not that it's not important in the totality of things, but it's not important in this moment. It's just not. And so I'm not going to put my time or energy to that, to getting stuck. Right? It's just a refusal to repeat those patterns. Right? That's where I got. I'm not going to repeat those patterns of that stickiness. And then it's also, I don't want to lose this either. It's because through acceptance, I'm not saying that I'm going to now continually not care that I get things wrong in my calendar. Like, that's not where I'm at either. It's what am I going to do with this newfound like acceptance? How am I going to actually now integrate this into my life? Right. And so it's, yes, I found some acceptance in that whole event fiasco. I was able to come back and find capacity and not be stuck in it. And what am I learning about myself so that I can make sure that I stay in this space of acceptance, of understanding. I'm not going to, what else can I be doing so that I'm maybe, I don't want to say be paying more attention, but like what are the maybe steps or the filters or the stop gaps that I can put into place so that these things maybe happen less? What could I be trying? Like, I want to be taking some action towards what that might look like and understand that I might not get it right next time either. And that's okay too. So there's this, like, there's an integration piece, but I think you were calling it strategy. Like what do we do with that integration? Like, do we just all walk around being like self-liberated and like, that's great? What are we doing with that? What are we doing with our self-liberation?
The place that when we step away from these internal shackles is what keeps coming forward. And I was trying to come up with a different word and I couldn't. These internal shackles, it's okay. Like, it's okay to have things stick. I want to normalize that. Like, we're sure it would be fantastic to walk around saying, I'm self-liberated, nothing, like the shackles don't hold me anymore. I don't know that that's possible. That's not what, like, my aim in life, and both personally and collectively, isn't to say, let's have us all walking around in this self-liberated space. But if the collective is a liberated collective, then we can. So because the collective isn't, because the collective will continue to try to restrict us, and we are in a time of high restriction, but the collective has always had restrictions, right? Until such time that the collective doesn't have restrictions, we're going to continue to have to do this internal work. And once we understand that that's the work that we're doing, it's just like raising our consciousness, right? It's giving us the ability to be in the world in a different way. It's not that we're not going to feel pain and sorrow and suffering and frustration and anger. Like, all that's going to still exist. And from a self-liberated space, we have less of the external forces are keeping us in that continual state of self-shackling, what's the word that I want? Like, reducing our freedom. Self-restriction. There we go.
Restriction.
Yeah. So, right. So it's like, it's these layers, and we're going to continually be playing in those layers. And so the goal, like, what do we do with it once we have this semblance of self-liberation, right? Where I work for myself and with my clients is that place that we have the understanding that we can switch into it faster. We can switch into that place of acceptance. We can switch into that place of, okay, so I'm being told this. Now I can be pissed off that that's what I'm being told. And now I'm going to move over here and do this because I have the freedom to do that. And I don't have to constantly do the work of, do I know enough? Do I have enough? Am I worthy enough? Is my team ready? Is that even okay? We're not doing that. That's significantly diminished because we've been already working on that. Just like you've already been working on the self-awareness.
Mm-hmm. And, when we come from this place of like that, we're not getting stuck in these loops or these spirals or these energy leaks, mm-hmm. and we can have the freedom to more quickly, with more ease, pivot into, right, well, that's that, and here we go, and this is what's important. This is where I want to be spending my time and my energy. And because we can do that so much quicker, because we can do that so much almost like cleaner, like it's less of it sticks to us. The more we practice it, less of it sticks to us, mm-hmm. the quicker we do it. We get to a place where now we have so much more energy and abundance to offer what's important in the world. And this is where I think we need this now more than ever. When we actually work on ourselves and we find this ability to have more capacity for the things that do matter, or the things that we do have control over, like, that's where we change the world. Like, that's where now we have, like, just think about what you can do if you showed up in a way that was more aligned with yourself, and you're more in alignment, you're happier, you're more productive, you're doing the right things at the right time with the right people. Like, it just starts to, like, click, because we haven't had this stickiness. We don't bring this frustration from one area of life into another. We don't bring this burden, some goo, from one space into the next. We were able to take that off and really start to show up. And I think that's how we make change in a chaotic world. That's how we do it. But it starts with servicing ourselves. And I know it can sound really odd to say, but it's really, really true. When we can do that, we actually get to do more.
Yeah. The reality is we cannot fix the world from the outside. we have to fix it from the inside first. And this concept of self-liberation, even the concept of higher consciousness, means that we're doing the internal work in service of the collective. And it doesn't have to be in service of the whole world. It can be in service of whatever aspect of the collective, because I think that can feel really overwhelming when we start talking about like, well, I'm in service of the world, right? Yeah, I'm doing this for the world. I'm doing this for the betterment of the people, of humanity. Yes, and my favorite phrase, yes, and what you're doing it in service of is your unique way of being in the world, your unique brilliance that you're bringing into the world. And each of us has a different place that is needed. We need builders, we need healers, we need wisdom keepers, we need all of these different aspects to help us move from where we are now to where we're headed to. And that is a constant cycle because it's a regenerative cycle. We're not just going from where we are today in 2025 to where we're going to be in 2026, 27, 28. We're going from where we are today to where we are tomorrow to where we are the next day to where it's like, it's a constant thing. Mm-hmm. And I think we forget that. And we think we're moving towards some great place, like one moment. I personally don't want to get to one moment because then it's done. I don't know what happens after that moment. Mm-hmm. But I know that our existence would be in question if we're all leading to what's that one thing. Now, I'm not saying that I don't want world peace. Of course I want world peace. That's who I am. And we all need to have inner peace if we're going to have world peace. We can't have it any other way.
Yeah. Yeah. I see. I've always seen, okay, well, not always. That's the wrong word. For a long time, I've seen that the work that I do in the world creates ripples. And that's all I need to know. I've seen it a handful of times where the work I do with a client like changes the world for someone that I'm not directly connected to. And it is amazing to me that can happen. I only needed to see that a handful of times to know that I don't need to be focusing on the bigger picture to know that I'm making a difference. I know that when I'm in service of my clients and we do really great and amazing work together, they actually go out and create their own ripples, which creates more ripples and more ripples and more ripples. That's all I need to know. And that feels really good. And so I think whatever people need, like to be able to know that the work, and I think this is true for everyone, right? The work that we do in the world is important work in whatever space you're in. And once we know that, and that it makes a difference, then that's part of, for me, that's part of like, well, of course I want to be doing that. Of course I want to be in that space. So of course I need to, right, learn acceptance, learn to get rid of the goo. Like it just all starts to make sense. And it all starts, like the puzzle pieces start to come back together. Once I kind of have that, what I see those ripples and I see the shores that they hit or the other water that they impact.
So it's not lost on me that we started this conversation challenge with being able to hold on to details. And when I hear you talking about the ripples and knowing how you impact one client and how that's going to go out into their world and their world and their world, it's just not lost on me that it's not about the details at all. And so maybe you're being given a gift at this point to remind you it's not about the details, because your gifts are greater than that.
Sure. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I was hearing there.
And I think that's the beauty of when you're in community, when you're in a space, when you can be heard, right? You get to have those words ripple back to you as well. Yeah. Yeah. What would you like to leave our listeners with today?
This idea that we are always in process and that it is, yes, we are leading to something. So whether you're working on self-awareness, whether you're practicing acceptance, whether you're just practicing getting up and getting through the day, right? Whatever you're working on in that moment, that's yours. And we have the ability to build on what we already know and what we've already learned. So if you're struggling to get through the days right now, getting up every day is building on itself and leaning into a little bit more self-awareness, and then leaning into a little bit more acceptance, and then leaning into the next thing and to the next thing. That's where you're going to continue to build your way towards this place of what I talk about, which is this self-liberation, this place of freedom from the pressures that we're all feeling right now.
Yeah.
It was a big takeaway, but that was it.
Yeah. For me today, it was really around this idea of, and I've heard it before, right? Like, you can only control what you can control. But it's like, yeah, like, thank goodness. Thank goodness. And so that's what it is for me, is absolutely knowing that, like, how I want to be showing up in some situations. Like, I just want to be showing up as me, and I want to be as me as I possibly can be. And that's with all of the little bumps and bruises and flaws or whatever that is along the way. And 100%. Yeah. Because it just leaves me so much more capacity and space to be doing things that are so much more important.
Yeah, when we're not trying to manhandle our lives, it gets a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So what do you got going on in the world? What do you got going on in the world?
So I'm excited. I didn't ever not have out in the public my Strengthscape work, but I am relaunching an aspect of my Strengthscape blueprint that I'm really excited to bring to people. It really lends itself to this conversation of allowing ourselves to know how to step back into wholeness and to have some tools to do that. So that's what I have going on right now. How about yourself?
I love that. So I've just opened up my wait list for my fall cohort of Rise and Redefine, where we come together and figure all of this stuff out and figure out that midlife transition. How do we bring more ease into that? How do we stay more centered in some pretty chaotic times, both internally and externally, so we can get to that place just so much more.
Louise, thank you so much for this conversation today. It was really fun.
Yeah, it was. Thank you, Kim. And thank you, listener. We hope you have a wonderfully unsticky day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye for now.
And that's all for this week's episode of the Empowered and Embodied Show. We hope today's episode has sparked something within you. Remember, we're all on this journey together. If something did resonate with you today, why not share it with a friend who might need to hear it too? You can find us everywhere you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, leave a review. Your feedback not only helps others find the show, but also helps us understand what's most valuable to you. Until next time, be kind to yourself, stay curious, and remember, we're walking right alongside you. Thanks for being part of our community.